Hi there, Michael Bovee with Consumer Recovery Network. Thanks for tuning in to DebtBytes, our YouTube channel. Today I'm going to talk about resolving debt with Cach LLC. So it's spelled C-A-C-H LLC. Cach is a unique debt collector. They sue a lot, so you might be involved with an attorney collecting debt when you have a cash purchase debt. And I should back that up. First is that Cach is a debt buyer. So they're not a debt collector that goes out and collects for debts for your creditor and gives them the money. They're a debt collector that purchases unpaid bills and then the legal rights to collect them, and then tries to collect and turn a profit. So they pay less than the value of the debt and then try and get it all, or at least as much as they can, and it's pretty profitable. Debt buyers is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry. The first time you might hear from Cach LLC is often enough going to be from an attorney collector. And that's the model that they use to collect. In fact, it was more of a franchise debt collection opportunity that was sold to collection law offices. And that's what it remains today. They're not as active as they once were. I see some dwindling amount of activity from them, but they're still a very active debt buyer, and they're still very active in the courts. So when you're dealing with Cach and you're able to work directly with one of their franchise collectors, or a collection agency, if you will, and they're non-attorney based, well, my settlement percentages tend to be between 30 and 40%, sometimes as much as 50. If you're dealing with Cach LLC and through one of their law firms, right, that is somebody who is likely going to be able to sue you. Sometimes they have an attorney on the West Coast collecting from people on the East Coast, or vice versa. But oftentimes, in fact, you can tell if the attorney writing to you, or that you're has communication going with you, is licensed or has a presence in your state. They're licensed there, and that means litigation is not far behind. Okay, sometimes as little as 30 days away. Sometimes it might have already been filed. So it's important to understand that you can negotiate with Cach at that stage as well. Sometimes it makes a difference if you are defending yourself. In other words, and not necessarily yourself, there are very experienced debt defense attorneys, debt collection defense attorneys in each state that you can communicate with. Reach out to me. I have a page up about Cach. You can see and click that, learn more about how to defend yourself or work with an attorney. But when you do that, when you, for example, file a general denial, suddenly now you're not the 90%. When you sue somebody for collection and you win 90% of the time, you're going to act a certain way. And that's literally what happens in the United States, is that roughly 90% of the people that get sued, it ends up in a judgment against them by default, or summary judgment, because they just fall on their sword. Yeah, I owe the money, Your Honor, I just can't pay. Okay, judgment in favor of Cach LLC. Now you have to contend with that and the extraordinary collection options that they have if they get a judgment against you. So try and avoid that if you can. And if you can't immediately come up with money, and let's assume you can settle for half or 60% of what you owe, 50 to 60, in active litigation, no judgment against you yet. You need time to raise that money. Filing an answer buys you time because the court process is very formal. And sometimes if you live in a highly or a densely populated area, that's the busier your courts will usually be. And so LA County, for example, just filing an answer buys you months of time sometimes. So if you need a little bit of time to raise money, it's a good reason to defend. Sometimes you defend with the intention of actually getting it dismissed. Debt buyers can have a more problematic time actually successfully suing you. So there's another reason to do that. I highly advise you connect with an attorney and have a consultation about that if you're going to go that route, or even just file an answer. Talk to an attorney first. Now, what if you're dealing with Cach LLC and you have a judgment against you already? Judgments can be settled. Now, they're a little bit more involved, or the collector is going to take a little bit more of a nuanced or detailed view of how collectible you are, because they do have extraordinary collection options available to them, such as liens placed against property, real estate, for example. Bank account levies. You could go to bed, have a certain amount of money in your bank account one night, wake up the next morning and have all of it or virtually all of it gone. That's a bank levy. Not a fun place to be in. or wage garnishment. So if they have those options, they're feeling pretty confident that they're going to get paid all the money. So why should they take a haircut? Well, there are reasons that they're going to look for to accept less from you. And sometimes it's how collectible you're going to appear to them. If you are paying a mortgage, a car, and 5 other credit card payments and just not this one, you're highly collectible. If you are showing up with, okay, fine, you have a mortgage, you got to pay that or otherwise you're homeless, and an owner car payment, maybe a student loan or 3 in forbearance, or you've got 3, 4, 5 other collection items on your credit report, you don't look all that collectible. And then you can share with them reasons why not only are you not collectible on paper, you're not collectible in reality now that you're in front of them, speaking with them because of this hardship, that hardship, medical this, and job loss that, right? So there are reasons why you can settle judgments for half. That's a good, approachable, realistic amount of money to start to prepare for if you have to deal with Cach LLC and negotiate with one of their attorney franchisees. So that's what I have to share about Cach for right now. So in the comments, if you have questions about your particular situation dealing with Cach, please add them and get dedicated feedback. I'll see you on the next video.